So in this first part, I am just getting the scoby and putting them in these like tray sort of things that will later stack up on top of each other, and we'll put them to dehydrate. And this is so that we can get rid of all the moisture and so that we can actually turn it into leather. Here we're just putting it on top and we're just closing it so that it dehydrates. The first clip, the scoby I used was from the one at home, and this is now I'm using the scoby from school. So I'm peeling the dehydrated scoby off and putting some corn flour on it and making sure it's really in, because that will stop it from sticking to the other scobies when it's in the container, and also keep it dry. So to start off the waterproofing stage, I had to get all corn flour particles off the scoby. So I knew that the scoby was already dry. I just need to get all the extra corn flour off it. So that's what I'm doing in this clip here, and most of it does come off. I had this theory that waterproofing shoe spray should work on scoby because it waterproofs leather. But one fact I didn't consider was that scoby takes in all moisture it can get, so even from air, which is why I was trying to make it waterproof. When I did the spray, it just dried instantly because the scoby just sucked in all the spray it got. And then we came up with a different way from a bit of research, and that was using beeswax and coconut oil. And that did work. It did work. It's just that if you were to go out in the sun wearing it, it would melt. So that's something that I think in the future I would need to work more on. Okay, so here comes the sewing stage, which was one of the most annoying thing because I dealt with some problems which I didn't think of before. The amount of scoby I had wasn't a lot, so because it was just a sudden thing and just whatever I could get situation. And so I just came up with the idea of just making a bucket hat because it wouldn't have taken too much, plus the amount of scoby I had was perfect for it. So here I'm laying out the scoby on like the pattern to see if it would work, and it did. So I would have to sew the scoby pieces together and then cut the pattern out of those and then sew those together, and it was just a really long process. Here I realized that sewing without anything to protect the scoby would leave like the mixture in the machine. So I sewed the scoby down and I realized that the needle was slowing down and it wasn't moving that well, and that was because the wax was getting caught up in the machine part at the bottom. That's when I went and asked my fashion teacher for help, and she said that I should use baking paper because it will stop the wax from going through and it'll sew really easily as well. So here I've cut out the top, the brim and the crown, and now I'm going to sew those together and make the bucket hat. And as you can see, I'm using the baking paper, and it's a bit hard to adjust because you have to keep twisting and then you have to rotate the paper, and it just gets a bit difficult to handle.
Soundstripe.
Hardest part of sewing this bucket hat was attaching the lining to the scoby. Like, there were different thicknesses and I was just worried it was going to rip, which some did, which is something that I think I will work on in future projects.